The Women's National Basketball Association finds itself confronting an unprecedented crisis that threatens the very foundation of professional women's basketball in America. Recent data reveals television ratings have plummeted by more than 50% following Caitlin Clark's injury absence, while the Indiana Fever's viewership has similarly declined by 53%. These numbers represent more than statistical anomalies. They signal a fundamental challenge to the league's viability and future sustainability. The magnitude of this decline cannot be overstated. In an era where sports leagues compete fiercely for audience attention and advertising dollars, such dramatic viewership drops represent nothing short of an institutional catastrophe. The WNBA, which had shown promising signs of growth and mainstream acceptance, now faces questions about its long-term survival. When we examine the viewership data with analytical precision, the picture becomes starkly clear and deeply troubling. Games featuring Caitlin Clark consistently drew over 1 million viewers, with premium matchups reaching 1.219 million viewers, numbers that represented genuine breakthrough moments for women's professional basketball. Post-injury games have struggled to maintain even 485,000 viewers, representing a collapse that few entertainment properties could survive. This dramatic drop exposes the league's dangerous dependency on a single player's drawing power, a vulnerability that reflects poor strategic planning and inadequate star development across the roster. The 2025 All-Star Game ratings fell 40% compared to the previous year, further confirming the extent of fan disengagement and institutional failure. The economic implications extend far beyond simple viewership metrics. Television contracts worth millions to the league depend on consistent audience delivery. Advertisers purchase commercial time based on projected viewership, and dramatic shortfalls create contractual complications and future negotiation challenges. These figures aren't merely disappointing, they threaten the economic foundation upon which the WNBA operates and the livelihoods of hundreds of professional athletes. The WNBA's current crisis extends far beyond temporary setbacks to fundamental failures in leadership, player protection, and strategic vision that threaten the league's continued existence as a viable professional sports organization. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon offered an unprecedented pathway to mainstream success and financial sustainability, but institutional mismanagement has transformed opportunity into potential catastrophe. The evidence is overwhelming. Television ratings have collapsed, attendance has plummeted, star players are injured or departing, and fan confidence has eroded to dangerous levels. These problems did not emerge suddenly. They represent the cumulative result of poor decision-making, inadequate leadership, and cultural dysfunction that pervades league operations. Professional sports organizations succeed through competent leadership, consistent player protection, strategic star development, and sustained fan engagement. The WNBA has failed simultaneously in all four areas during what should have been its most successful season in league history. Without immediate, comprehensive reform, the league risks permanent damage to its credibility, financial stability, and competitive future. The women's basketball players who dedicate their careers to WNBA competition deserve better than the dysfunction they currently face. The fans who invest time, money, and emotional energy in team success deserve professional organization and competitive integrity. The business partners who provide essential revenue deserve honest communication and reliable performance delivery. Whether the WNBA can transform itself to meet these basic professional standards will determine its survival in an increasingly competitive entertainment marketplace where audiences have unlimited alternatives and limited patience for substandard products. The clock is ticking and the margin for error has disappeared entirely. The choices made in the coming months will determine whether the WNBA emerges as a sustainable professional league worthy of its talented players and dedicated fans, or becomes a cautionary tale of institutional failure and wasted opportunity in professional women's sports. The WNBA stands at a critical juncture where recovery remains possible but requires immediate, comprehensive changes across multiple organizational areas. Half measures and incremental adjustments will not address the scope of current challenges or restore damaged credibility with fans, players, and business partners. Leadership accountability represents the essential first step toward institutional recovery. Commissioner Engelbert must acknowledge current failures publicly and implement substantive reforms with measurable outcomes and transparent reporting. Without leadership changes at the highest levels, other improvements become impossible because cultural problems will persist. Player protection protocols require immediate implementation through enhanced officiating training, clear disciplinary procedures for targeting behavior, and league office oversight of game management. The systematic failure to protect star players must end immediately through concrete policy changes and consistent enforcement. Officiating reform represents another urgent priority that affects every aspect of game presentation and fan experience. The league must invest in comprehensive referee training, implement performance evaluation systems, and establish accountability measures that ensure consistent rule enforcement across all games and situations. Strategic focus must shift toward recognizing that star players drive league success and require protection accordingly. This means abandoning abstract concepts of tough play in favor of practical business decisions that preserve valuable assets and maintain product quality for television and live audiences. Communication strategies need complete overhaul to restore credibility with fans, media, and business partners. Honest assessment of problems, transparent reporting of solutions, and abandonment of misleading public statements must become standard practice for all league communications. Financial planning and revenue diversification become essential for reducing dependence on single revenue streams or individual player drawing power. The league must develop multiple star players, expand market appeal beyond traditional demographics, and create sustainable business models that survive individual player transitions. Beyond immediate crisis management, the WNBA must address fundamental strategic questions about its identity, market position, and competitive approach within the broader entertainment landscape. These decisions will determine whether the league emerges from current challenges as a stronger organization or continues declining toward irrelevance. Market positioning requires clear decisions about target audiences and competitive differentiation from other entertainment options. The league must decide whether to focus on traditional basketball fans or attempt broader audience appeal and develop consistent strategies that support chosen approaches. Player development systems need comprehensive reform to identify, develop, and retain talent that can drive future success. This includes improved scouting, training programs, career support services, and compensation structures that compete effectively with international alternatives. Television and media partnerships require renegotiation based on realistic audience projections and improved product quality guarantees. The league cannot afford additional seasons of dramatic audience shortfalls that damage relationships with broadcast partners and advertising sponsors. Expansion and contraction decisions must align with financial realities and market demand rather than wishful thinking about growth potential. The league may need to consolidate operations in viable markets rather than maintaining unsustainable expansion that dilutes talent and resources. International competition and player movement trends require strategic responses that position the WNBA competitively within global women's basketball markets. The league must offer compelling reasons for elite players to choose WNBA participation over lucrative overseas opportunities. Long-term WNBA supporters, representing the league's most valuable constituency, express increasing frustration with institutional direction and leadership decisions. These fans have invested emotionally and financially in league success over multiple seasons, making their growing disillusionment particularly damaging to long-term viability. Social media responses to official WNBA communications frequently feature criticism rather than enthusiasm, creating negative publicity that affects broader public perception. When core supporters become critics, it signals fundamental problems that extend beyond temporary setbacks to structural, institutional issues. Season ticket holders and regular attendees represent crucial revenue sources whose loyalty cannot be taken for granted. Their investment in league success goes beyond individual game attendance to merchandise purchases, local market advocacy, and word-of-mouth promotion that drives casual fan engagement. When these advocates become disillusioned, the ripple effects affect all aspects of market development. The erosion of fan confidence creates cascading effects that are extremely difficult to reverse. Disappointed fans often become active critics who share negative experiences through social media and personal networks, multiplying the impact of their dissatisfaction. Professional sports leagues depend on positive word-of-mouth marketing that becomes impossible when core supporters lose faith in institutional competence. Television audience behavior provides additional evidence of fan disengagement beyond simple ratings numbers, and viewers who previously watched complete games now tune out during poor officiating sequences or when star players face excessive targeting. This behavior suggests deeper problems with product quality that affect viewer experience and long-term loyalty development. The challenge of rebuilding fan trust after institutional failures requires sustained excellence over multiple seasons in a timeline that the WNBA may not have given current financial pressures and competitive entertainment alternatives. Once trust is lost, recovery requires exceptional performance and transparent communication that the current leadership has not demonstrated capability to provide. The WNBA's crisis reflects deeper systemic problems that extend beyond individual decisions to cultural and institutional issues embedded throughout the organization. These problems manifest in multiple areas simultaneously, creating interconnected challenges that require comprehensive solutions rather than piecemeal adjustments. League culture appears to tolerate mediocrity in areas where excellence is essential for professional sports success. From officiating standards to player protection protocols to public communication strategies, the WNBA consistently underperforms compared to other professional leagues facing similar challenges. The acceptance of poor officiating as part of the game represents cultural dysfunction that affects every stakeholder. Players cannot perform optimally when rules are inconsistently enforced. Coaches cannot develop effective strategies when officiating varies unpredictably. Fans cannot enjoy games when poor calls affect outcomes and interrupt game flow. Management culture within league offices appears disconnected from operational realities, as evidenced by public statements that contradict observable circumstances. This disconnect suggests either deliberate misrepresentation or institutional blindness to obvious problems, both of which prevent effective problem-solving and strategic planning. The league's relationship with media and public communication reflects additional cultural problems that affect reputation management and crisis response. Professional sports organizations require sophisticated communication strategies that acknowledge problems while maintaining confidence in solutions. The WNBA's approach has consistently failed to meet professional standards in this crucial area. Player development and retention systems appear inadequate for supporting the careers of elite athletes who have alternatives, including overseas leagues and other professional opportunities. When talented players choose departure over continued WNBA participation, it signals systemic problems that affect league competitiveness and long-term viability. The current trajectory poses existential questions about the WNBA's financial sustainability that extend far beyond single-season performance metrics. Television contracts, sponsorship agreements, and ticket sales all depend on consistent audience engagement and positive brand perception, both of which have suffered severe damage during this crisis period. With ratings in freefall and attendance declining across multiple markets, the league's economic model faces unprecedented stress. Television partners who invested in WNBA programming based on growth projections now confront dramatic audience shortfalls that affect advertising revenue and future contract negotiations. These contractual relationships, crucial for league survival, depend on reliable audience delivery that the WNBA can no longer guarantee. Empty arenas represent more than aesthetic problems. They signal fundamental market rejection that affects all revenue streams. Concession sales, merchandise revenue, and local sponsorship opportunities all depend on consistent attendance that creates vibrant game day experiences. When arenas appear empty on television broadcasts, the visual impact reinforces negative perceptions about league popularity and viability. The broader economic implications extend to player compensation, facility investments, and league expansion planning. Professional sports leagues require predictable revenue streams to make long-term commitments to player salaries and operational expenses. The current crisis creates uncertainty that affects every aspect of league operations and planning. Corporate sponsors, increasingly important for league revenue, evaluate partnerships based on brand association value and audience reach. The WNBA's current crisis creates negative brand associations that make sponsorship relationships less attractive and more expensive to maintain. Companies invest in sports partnerships to reach specific audiences and create positive brand connections, objectives that become impossible when the sports product itself generates negative publicity and declining audiences. Other major professional leagues provide instructive contrasts that highlight the WNBA's strategic failures and missed opportunities. The National Basketball Association implements comprehensive protocols to protect superstars like LeBron James, including specific officiating instructions, technical foul assessments for excessive contact, and disciplinary action against players who engage in targeting behavior. These protective measures aren't arbitrary or preferential. They represent calculated business decisions designed to preserve the assets that generate television ratings, ticket sales, and sponsorship revenue. The NBA understands that LeBron James drives more revenue than any other single player, making his protection a league priority that benefits all stakeholders, including competing teams. The National Football League has developed even more comprehensive rules to safeguard quarterbacks, implementing penalties that can determine game outcomes to prevent career-threatening injuries to the most important players on each team. These rules face occasional criticism from traditionalists, but league leadership maintains them because quarterback health directly affects product quality and audience engagement. The WNBA's approach appears fundamentally different and economically destructive, prioritizing abstract concepts of tough play over practical player protection and business considerations. This philosophy has proven demonstrably harmful to league interests, player safety, and fan engagement. Major League Baseball provides another relevant example of star protection through umpire training, disciplinary systems, and cultural expectations that prevent systematic targeting of marquee players. While baseball allows aggressive play, it maintains clear boundaries that protect player safety and preserve competitive integrity. These comparative examples demonstrate that successful professional leagues prioritize star protection as fundamental business practice, not preferential treatment. The WNBA's failure to adopt similar approaches has created predictable negative consequences that could have been avoided through competent leadership and strategic planning. This season has witnessed an alarming pattern of player injuries and departures that extends far beyond normal statistical expectations for professional athletics. The systematic failure to protect players has created an environment where careers are unnecessarily endangered and league competitiveness is severely compromised. Caitlin Clark's multiple ankle injuries resulted directly from excessive and unaddressed physical contact that officials failed to control. Her targeting by opposing players became so systematic and obvious that casual observers could predict when aggressive contact would occur. The league's failure to intervene through officiating adjustments or disciplinary action sent a clear message that player safety was secondary to maintaining some misguided concept of physical play. Sophie Cunningham's season-ending injury represents another significant loss of marquee talent that the league could not afford. As a player positioned as a face of the future, her absence removes both on-court production and marketing potential during a season when every positive element was crucial for league success. Angel Reese's mid-season departure, while officially characterized as personal decision-making, reflects deeper institutional problems that create environments where talented players choose departure over continued participation. Her decision suggests systemic issues that extend beyond individual circumstances to league-wide cultural and management problems. These developments collectively represent a systemic failure to create safe, supportive environments for professional athletes. The pattern suggests inadequate medical protocols, insufficient protective officiating, and cultural acceptance of unnecessary physical targeting that would be unacceptable in other professional leagues. The Caitlin Clark phenomenon presented the WNBA with its greatest opportunity for mainstream breakthrough in the league's 25-year history. Her arrival generated unprecedented media attention, casual fan interest, and cultural relevance that extended far beyond traditional women's basketball audiences. Clark's appeal transcended typical sports demographics, attracting viewers who had never previously watched WNBA games and creating genuine mainstream cultural moments. Her games became appointment television for audiences that typically ignored women's professional sports, representing exactly the breakthrough the league had sought for decades. Instead of capitalizing on this unprecedented momentum through strategic protection and promotion, league leadership allowed its most marketable star to become a systematic target for aggressive opponents. This represents not merely a missed opportunity, but catastrophic failure of institutional priorities that demonstrates fundamental misunderstanding of professional sports economics. The ripple effects of this failure extend beyond Clark's individual situation. Potential fans who tuned in expecting to see elite basketball instead witnessed systematic targeting of the league's biggest star without protective intervention. These viewers, many experiencing WNBA basketball for the first time, received a negative first impression that will be extremely difficult to overcome in future seasons. Major professional leagues invest heavily in protecting their stars because they understand basic economic reality. Star power drives viewership, which drives revenue, which funds league operations and player salaries. The WNBA's approach appears to prioritize abstract concepts over practical business considerations, resulting in predictable and avoidable economic damage. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert faces mounting criticism for her handling of multiple interconnected crises throughout what should have been a breakthrough season. Her leadership approach appears fundamentally disconnected from the realities facing the league, with public statements that consistently contradict observable circumstances. Player safety protocols appear woefully insufficient, as evidenced by the repeated targeting of star players without adequate protective intervention from officiating crews or league administration. The Commissioner's office has failed to implement basic protective measures that other professional leagues consider standard practice. This failure extends beyond mere oversight. It represents a fundamental misunderstanding of how professional sports organizations protect their most valuable assets. The disconnect between leadership messaging and actual performance raises serious questions about institutional awareness and strategic competence. While Commissioner Engelbert speaks publicly of growth and momentum, the league simultaneously experiences its most significant viewership decline in recent memory. This cognitive dissonance suggests either deliberate misrepresentation or concerning lack of situational awareness at the highest levels of league management. Furthermore, the Commissioner's handling of media relations and public communication has been consistently inadequate. Rather than addressing legitimate concerns with transparency and concrete action plans, official responses have relied on generic corporate language that fails to acknowledge the severity of current challenges. This approach has eroded trust among fans, players, and media partners who expect honest leadership during crisis periods. The quality of officiating has deteriorated to a level that actively deters viewership and undermines the fundamental integrity of competitive basketball. Inconsistent foul calls, failure to protect star players, and general incompetence have transformed games into exercises in frustration rather than displays of athletic excellence and strategic basketball. Professional sports leagues understand a fundamental principle that appears lost on WNBA leadership. Consistent, competent officiating protects both player safety and product integrity. Fans invest emotionally and financially in games because they trust that outcomes will be determined by athletic skill and strategic execution, not arbitrary or incompetent officiating decisions. The WNBA's failure in this area has created an environment where stars like Clark face unnecessary and dangerous physical targeting while officials remain passive observers. This creates a cascading effect where fans lose confidence in game outcomes, players lose trust in protective systems, and the overall product quality deteriorates rapidly. The economic impact of poor officiating extends beyond immediate game results. Television broadcasts become difficult to watch when officials consistently make questionable calls that interrupt game flow and create confusion. Casual fans, who represent the growth demographic the league desperately needs, are particularly sensitive to product quality issues that make games unenjoyable to watch.